With massive layoffs in nearly every sector, weakness in manufacturing, car sales and housing, and the biggest one-month decline in the trade deficit since the financial crisis, the economic picture is not looking good. Bottom line, now is the time to own gold, which is why the experts at Stansberry Research just stepped forward with a major gold prediction, arguing gold could soar as high as $3,000 by the end of the year, possibly even higher. You can find out why and get instant access to their #1 gold investment today. It's not bullion, an ETF, or a mining stock, but in the past, this gold strategy could have made you nearly 50x your money. Considering how quickly the price of gold has been moving in recent weeks, you don't want to waste any time missing out on the gains these experts believe are in store for this gold stock. To get a copy of his new free report with all the details, simply go to goldmaniareport.com. Again, that's goldmaniareport.com for a free copy of his new report. August 22nd, the big day. I mean, we don't know what's really going to unfold.
The chances of World War III are growing almost daily. And if it doesn't start by provoking the Russians further, it'll be by provoking the Chinese.
Russia has announced that they're not going to be attending this BRICS summit next month. And I understand, why they did with the Ukraine war and not wanting to get the whole world involved and thinking that they're going to do it.
I think there's a bigger story to tell about the BRICS. It's almost 3/4 of the world's population have signed on. So there was only Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But the big one is Saudi Arabia and Iran. Now, the reason that's important is they hate America. And if you can get that picture, plus you have the Belt and Road Project, you have most of the world that's not, I'm going to hope you don't get censored for me saying this, but the world that they're going into is a non-Christian world. I'm not being, religious and all this. I'm not being political. I'm saying it's, Muslim, Hindu, Islam, and all this. So this is a very big move. It's because the world, who is not white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, Christian, like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, England, they're joining up against the Western currency called the dollar. And so the BRICS is not if, it's only when. Jim Rickards says it best. It's not if, it's when they switch to gold. That's what they're saying. I agree with him.
The BRICS conference is coming up in Johannesburg. They put on the table, they'd like to create a reserve currency to compete against the US dollar. Is that pie in the sky or a legitimate threat?
Well, I think it's pie in the sky. I mean, they haven't really put, we don't know what they're talking about, but they're I think in a way grasping for straws, and until I see exactly what they're proposing, I really don't have much of a comment on it. Now, I have recommended, by the way, that something they could do that would work, and that is to have a gold-backed currency board. If BRICS had a currency board and they issued a brick, and each brick was backed 100% by gold, and each brick traded at a fixed exchange rate with a unit of gold, then you would have a surefire system, because the BRICS would be what? They would be clones of gold, and that is unambiguously a legitimate and serious option.
First of all, going back to my mother, talk is cheap. I mean, just because you make an announcement, that doesn't mean much of anything. And that's basically what they're doing. They're going to announce that the BRICS, are going to have a gold-backed currency. And it's possible, and it's probably probable at some point that they will. But it's very difficult to get those 5 different cultures to really work together. It's kind of like the Euro situation. I mean, the Germans have a lot different work ethic and vacation strategy and all that than, let's say, Greece does. And so you put them all together, it's rather difficult to stir the pot and mix it up and make it work. euro again as an example. So here we've got Brazil, we've got India, we've got Russia, we've got China. If they make it convertible, where you can buy the BRICS currency and immediately exchange it for physical gold, then that will impact the market. And if the BRICS decide to peg the gold price higher than, let's say, what the COMEX or the LBMA has, that will cause an arbitrage situation, which people say, oh, gold's at 2,000 and they're pegging it at 2,200. So it'll almost immediately correct, because of the arbitrage like that in any market. Markets are very efficient, especially when it comes to arbitrage. So they could be setting a new price for gold in, US dollar terms or yuan terms or ruble terms or whatever. I think that it's more hype than anything else at this point.
I don't think anything substantive will come out of the conference in this month. My opinion is that there still is a lot of mistrust among the participants. There's all sorts of rumors. India's in, out, not in, not out. We don't know what's going on with India. And then the other thing to understand is the dollar system is so ingrained. Money and debt are the same thing. So all these countries have dollar-denominated debt. It's not, if they do announce something substantive and I'm wrong, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. And they're going to have to devalue their currencies if they go on a gold standard currently. So it'd be a disaster economically for them to do it all at once.
People should understand that this currency is denominated in gold. Backed by gold suggests, Danielle, that if you had 100,000, quote, bricks, that you could submit those bricks and they would give you the gold. Good luck with that. I'd love to see you, well, I would like to see you do this. You're my friend. But I'd love to see somebody who I didn't like fly over to Moscow with 100,000 bricks and say to Putin, I'll take my gold, please. It is a mistake to consider this to be a gold-backed currency because they don't have enough gold. It's a mistake, too, to think that they could acquire the gold because most of the countries that make up the so-called BRICS, every country, frankly, with the exception of China and Saudi Arabia, don't have economies that generate enough surplus that they could buy sufficient gold to back even a fraction of the currency that would be regarded to maintain their economy.
So the question then, Rick, is in order for this to launch successfully, you don't need gold to back every dollar?
I believe that you do probably need gold to back up every dollar. I suspect what this will evolve into is a multilateral trading mechanism that allows countries to settle surpluses and deficits between them as a way around the U.S. dollar. I do not believe that this will supplant the dollar, nor do I believe, frankly, that special drawing rights will supplant the dollar as a reserve currency in my lifetime. For the record, I'm 70. I do think that we're evolving into a multipolar world and that more societies will find ways to finance trade outside the dollar than they have done in the past.
Yeah.
See, that's where you go back to the global banking system. And these are people that have made literally trillions of dollars on the United States being the world reserve currency since the 1950s. So when you talk about a BRICS currency that's backed by gold and all of these things, it is true that could decrease demand for dollars, but the dynamic that will be at play there, the war that will be waged, won't necessarily be between the United States and the BRICS countries. It'll be between the global banking system and the BRICS country.
And the BRICS. Why are you in support of the U.S. dollar dominance ending?
Well, I'm not really in support as a U.S. citizen because
Right.
it's going to impact us. But I deal in the world of reality. Can't understand why I'd be in junior resource stocks, but that's a story for another day. But I think what's really critical is to understand that there's changes in history, and we're seeing one. This is the beginning of the end of an empire that really dominated in the world for 100 or so years, and an opening to others, and the BRIC is going to be that.
In my view, it is desirable for the world to have many participants in global economic affairs and in global politics. In other words, I think the system should not be a system where you have a kind of a currency, a global currency, like the dollar was, or before the British pound, or the Spanish peseta, and so forth. I think the best is that we have many different currencies and that people trade freely with each other. In other words, when China trades with Saudi Arabia, or China trades with Brazil, or China trades with Russia, there's no need the transaction should occur in US dollars. It should occur either in Saudi Riyal or in Chinese yuan or RMBs. In other words, I think the best for the world is that the dollar system that prevailed is gradually phased out, and this is going to happen.
Opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the contributor and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Stansberry Research, its parent company, or affiliates.